Welcome all once again. We are back with our another session on GIS. For this session, we have our guest speaker, Sri Priyank Patel, Director of Operations and Research and Business at Liveult India, IGBC, AP. We will discuss about the sustainable built environment and certifications. Okay, so without further ado, we'll
just a moment. Before handing over mic to Priyank, okay, let me first of all introduce Priyank to all of you. Priyank is 2012-16 pass out batch. Okay, so he is senior alumni from our college. So not only he will present the green building, green cities, green technology, carbon credit, all these things, but also he will share his experience, his college days, and his career, and how he has shaped up his career. So those things also he will share with us. Okay. So Priyank, please. So all the blessings are with you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, very good afternoon to all of you. As being introduced, I am Priyank, and I'm fortunate enough to be present in front of you all with this very interesting discussion, which is very, very, very close to my heart and which has shaped me where I am today. And this is just a small thing which I want to share with my overall thing which I have been doing till now, ever since the days I passed college. So I'm happy to share everything with my college fraternity and all. So shall we start, sir?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So this is the basic talk about today. I'll talk about the green buildings and sustainability and how this can be a very, very interesting field for young engineers or young people who are trying to foray into this wonderful journey into civil engineering. So as we know that as an engineer, we all can work in different fields and different areas, because being an engineer, it's not that one engineer has to work in all the different fields. So while I was in college, I would tell you I was trying to understand which area is more specific to my interest, because I was very interested towards environment, sustainability, and definitely I joined an organization, started working as an engineer, but my overall insight towards the being an engineer was more towards environment, sustainability, energy, and this was something which was coming from deep inside. Like I was trying more and more interested towards these kind of topics, and that's how there's a thing called ikigai. Like you have to listen to yourself and try to develop, hear that thing, and that's how I listened, and I just followed the steps. So herein I start with my today's discussion about sustainable built environment. There are a lot of like I would specifically talk about Indian Green Building Council, which is a member of the World Green Building Council, and which allows us to rate your buildings on the basis of the environmental and the carbon footprint. So when we talk about this built environment, there is and specifically about green buildings, a lot has already been in our history. What our old generation and people, they have already been doing. They have done that. So there's the concept of green building is something which we have taken or we have developed from our past. It's more like connecting back to your roots. So when we talk about effective ventilation, so as you can see in the left side, there's the example of a Chettinad place. So this talks about how the courtyards have been so nicely and like ensure that proper lit courtyards are there, because this kind of space creates a sort of a natural ventilation. And the similar thing today with what we are doing, we are trying to incorporate the same strategies in today's design. So this is more like a learning from our history. When we talk about rainwater harvesting, and we have so many instances from our history which talks about the Baulis and the water bodies, and how the kings and the Maharajas, they used to design such kind of elements to preserve the water. And the same thing the government at present is being insisting upon using
So
more and
Priyank, sorry to interrupt you.
yes, sir.
So let me tell you one thing. Now, I mean, this our syllabus has already, I mean, changed. Okay. So
Oh, great.
from second year, they are learning all these things. I mean, as a brief. So they have an idea. So second year and third year student, they have bit idea about this. Now carry on, please.
Okay, sir. Okay. That is something very interesting to
Yeah. So
understand
yes,
because when we were there,
no, not there. No, nothing is there. Yeah.
correct. So coming back to this locally available materials, like we have been right now, we have been more and more focus is on the usage of the locally available materials, or there are certain specific sections which talk about that you have to source materials from a local area, and definitely the envelope, how we design the overall building and how we try to harvest the daylight and the energies. So talking about Indian Green Building Council, this is India's first platinum rated green building, and the headquarters is in Hyderabad, and it is being run by CIA Saurabhji Green Business Center in Hyderabad, in India. So IGBC is one such rating system which is operational in India. We do have another rating system as well as like Griha, which is by the TERI. Similarly, like we have a lot of rating systems all across the world, like LEED, which is by the USGBC, or the BREEAM by the London. Then we have Energy Star, we have Estidama by Abu Dhabi. So many rating systems does exist. But when it comes to India, our Indian government has framed, has with the help of CIA, has framed this particular body, IGBC, Indian Green Building Council, which talks specifically about the local built environment, the India's built environment, and that's how this whole thing has been framed. So how does it start? It started in the year 2000. It was inaugurated by Shri APJ Abdul Kalam sir, doctor, and in the year 2004. So what is IGBC? IGBC, it was formed by CIA in 2001. The vision is to enable sustainable built environment for all, and to make India as one of the leaders in sustainable built environment by 2025. Now, this is the target which this particular organization has taken right from 2001. And it is one of the founding members of World Green Building Council since the year 2004. Now, what are the initiatives? Like how this is so nicely synchronized between architects, developments. So this is such a rating system which is try to bind in each and every person. Like whenever we do any civil engineering project, we have to ensure that each and every stakeholder is very important, like student, like the consultant, the architect, the developers, the manufacturers, the materials. So in this way, even this rating system is very, very specifically aligned to each and every person, and each and every person is playing an important part as it's doing a bit of its role in there. So when we talk about the green building footprint in India, we at present, this particular rating system has already covered more than 7.61 billion square feet of the overall footprint. And we have already more than 6,000 green building projects which are already registered starting from the year 2001. And this is something very remarkable, because as we talk, these figures have already reached beyond a certain figure. So why green building? What is the reason for this green building? So that will come in our next slides. But right now, when we talk about the different areas wherein this particular movement is being covered, so this is being covered in a lot of areas. Like when we talk about what is a green building, it is as we talk, green building is any building which uses less water, which optimizes how we are using the energy materials, how we are trying to design a building, and what are the elements which are going into a building. How can we conserve the natural resources? How can we generate less waste? How can we provide us a good environment for the people or the anyone who is trying to reside in that particular building? And it's not just applicable for the residential buildings. Definitely, it is for the commercial buildings as well. It is trying to develop a whole building approach to sustainability by recognizing overall development in the 5 areas. Like the very first is the site selection and the planning, the overall how we select the site, the kind of planning that we have to do in selecting the site. Right from the inception or the planning stage, this particular strategy can be devised into any building. How we are trying to develop the water efficiency, what are the ways in which we are trying to harvest the water, what are the ways in which we are trying to reduce the water usage. For example, at present there are so many different kinds of designs in the flush which can help you in optimizing the water. Similar to it, like what materials you are sourcing. For example, I'm sitting in Kolkata, and if I am importing a material from Italy, it is not going to be any good, do any good to the environment in a way overall. Similarly, coming to the indoor environmental quality, what at present when we talk about the ongoing COVID scenario, this is one of the very, very important criteria about what kind of environment we are living right now, because uh, health and well-being parameters are so very important in the buildings that we reside and also in the buildings that we work in. So again, connecting back to the roots, this is something which can be very well connected to the five elements of nature, that is the earth, water, energy, air, and sky. Like all the five elements, as I mentioned: sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and daylight harvesting or the night sky pollution. Both can be integrated to the sky element, the Panch Bhutas of nature. So at present, there are 27 rating systems. Uh, the very recent one is the IGBC net zero systems. Like, for example, a lot of people, they have a confusion about why only green buildings. So this is not just applicable to this. When I'm talking about IGBC, uh, I I'm restricting myself towards IGBC, but more or less all the rating systems, they are adhering to these kind of, overall the five elements remain the same, because we are trying to identify the holistic way in which we can conserve all the five resources. So green new buildings, the existing buildings can be rated into green buildings. How we are trying to, what kind of interiors we are using, whether we are using any old materials and utilizing them in, that comes under the green interiors. Data centers, as we all know at present, the next big thing is going to be the data, which is so much data is being is a waste for us, and it is amounting to a lot of carbon dioxide emissions. How the residential societies that we stay, the factories which are very, very important, the backbone of India, the industry, and how this particular backbone can be more developed into a green thing, so that the emissions which are being done from the factory can be properly managed into a good one. Schools, as we know, schools are the place where the children go and they spend 30% of their life, 30% of this time in the school till they study. The school is also plays a very important role in how the schools can be green. Similar to it, likewise, there are 27 areas whereas this particular IGBC rating can be applied. As I mentioned, education, residential, commercial, transit, built environment, industrial, health and well-being. Now, all these rating programs, someone will ask why is it so specific? Like, why should we follow it, or why do we follow it? So all these rating programs are being aligned with the government trends. Like when you talk about Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climatic Change, or the B Star rating program, or the Energy Conservation Building Codes, or the National Building Codes, each and every rating program is definitely aligned with it, and a lot of stakeholder consultation goes into this particular rating program before they are being launched for the public. So as I mentioned, they are national by choice and global in performance. So what did it differently when initially when we tried to figure out that what exactly uh, how are they different? So this is a basic parameter which can be identified that what exactly they are doing different. In a conventional building, the approach is more where we are trying to address the energy and water efficiency, whereas in a green building we are trying to make it more into an integrated approach, wherein we are trying to bring in the elements of passive architecture, and how overall, as I mentioned, from the planning stage, we can incorporate these elements of passive architecture, and so that each and every parameter can be addressed more holistically. When we talk about the standards, this green building, they beat the standards. They are much more competent than the existing standards. And materials, we are only trying to use the virgin materials, whereas in green building, we are definitely trying to reuse a lot of materials. I have some examples which will be there in the coming slides, and how we are trying to reuse the materials in the building and all. A lot of energy is being utilized in cooling a building or in heating a building. Say for instance, in India, around we have to spend a lot of energy in cooling a building, because we are living in that kind of a zone. Whereas if we are in the West, a lot of energy goes into the cooling a building. So overall, this green building is trying to reduce a lot of parameters, as in overall this particular thing can be called into a green building. So what exactly these green buildings did differently? As I mentioned, the major change that is very significant is the electrical demand, or the reduction in the electrical demand, which is very, very pertinent in a green building. Then comes the lighting, the efficient lighting and the LED lighting that have been there. Now, when it comes to the tangible benefits, it has been calculated that there are energy savings to the tune of 20 to 30%, and the water savings to the tune of 40 to 40% over the baselines. And these are all calculated over the baselines, and how we better try to integrate the same in the building approach. Now, definitely, when such a building is being designed, the agency tries to ensure that there should be a proper monitoring, or there should be a proper proper thing that at least whatever is happening, it should be visible. What are the impacts? I should be able to calculate the whole thing. So it has been calculated that average energy savings over conventional buildings, like say for instance in corporate offices, it has been to the tune of 47% over the usual buildings. In malls, it has been to the tunes of 27%. Similarly, hotels, hospitals, and education institutions have a savings of 35, 33, and 39% respectively. Now, these were the data collected from 77 IGBC ratings building so far. Now, when we again talk about the tangible benefits, there have been studies which say that buildings consume about 40% of the world's energy. So whatever energy that is being generated at present, the building industry or the construction industry, it consumes around 40% of the world's energy. And when we know that when it is consuming that much of energy, how much emissions it is imperative that they are doing in the world. So at present, IGBC certified projects have saved around 10,000 to 15,000 megawatt hours of energy per million square feet per annum. These are all on the basis of certain reports or certain buildings that were being studied, IGBC rated buildings. IGBC certified projects, they have also saved a lot of water, and as I mentioned, a lot of elements which can go into the design of the designing of the water elements, the low flow fixtures and flushes and everything. When it comes to renewable energy, IGBC has facilitated installation of 50 megawatt of renewable energy so far. This figure is much more at present when you talk about today's data. And in terms of carbon dioxide emissions, we have almost reduced 12,000 tons of per million square feet per annum of carbon dioxide emissions. Now, when we talk about the construction waste, I was mentioning that why these buildings are being used in a different manner. So when we talk about this particular, the left side figure, it is all the columns, this outside envelope has been utilized, this timber has been utilized from a waste beams of an old building. So that is how this particular architect has tried to create a harmony between the old materials and the new building. Similar to it, the office furniture in the right side has been designed in such a manner that the wastage of a lot of cartons and the shipping boxes which are being transshipped from one place to another, which takes on the industrial materials, they usually go for the waste. So there's a lot of companies who are actually working upon sourcing this kind of waste, and they are making it upcycling and recycling that particular material. So when you talk about the intangible benefits, so there are a lot of environmental benefits, the health and safety benefits, and definitely a lot of occupant productivity is also being seen. So it definitely reduces the impact on the environment, because definitely when each and every government, each and every organization the world leaders are stressing upon this particular technology. So it's very imperative that they are doing something at least good for the environment. So the basic thing what they are doing is reducing the impact, the overall impact on the environment. And automatically when the impact is being reduced, the health and safety of the occupant is being increased in a very natural manner. And when the health and safety is being improved, so we are trying to the productivity of the occupant is also getting increased. So in a way, it is trying to create a sort of world-class standards and procedures, this particular rating program. The right side, we have a example of a building which is IGBC gold rated building. Now, what is IGBC gold rating? I'll mention in the slides to come. But for now, just understand it's a IGBC gold rated building, which has got a lot of sustained benefits in Mumbai. Now, when we talk about the intangible benefits, so these are all this data which have been referred from the World Green Building Council report. It states that a green building has been found that there are 32% reduction in the absenteeism of the employees, and a lot of people have retained the employees, like 11% retained in the employees. So it is not just the benefits that one can see. There are a lot of far outreaching benefits which are not visible to our eyes, because a lot of relationship benefits, the overall holistic benefits, as I mentioned, can be outsourced with this particular kind of a rating program. Not just IGBC, any rating program which exists. When you talk about the enhancing the indoor environmental quality, it has been found that it can reduce around 18 to 25% of the reduction in the allergen and asthma has been found in these kind of buildings. The communicable respiratory diseases have been reduced to the tune of 9 to 20%, and reduction in non-specific health and discomfort effects have also been reduced to the tune of 20 to 50%. Now, this is certainly a good data which we can rely upon. Now, when we talk about greenhouse hospitals, we all are going through a situation, a crisis rather, which is with this pandemic, and it is very, very important that that hospitals do take these kind of necessary precautions. And hospitals, where a lot of people they are going for usual visits, for stays like this pandemic and all that. So in any green hospital, it has been found that the reduction in the patient stay has been reduced to 8.55%. The reduced need for pain medication has been there for 22%. This is because of the ample daylight. Now, when I am trying to bring in the elements of daylight into any kind of a hospital, now we know what daylight does, because we do have, like when we talk about the Western countries, they are already so much reduced. They do not have that much of sunshine hours. When we talk about India, we have a lot of sunshine hours, and there have been already researches and studies which find that 2 hours from the sunrise and 2 hours prior to the sunset, the sun energy that the sunlight that we can absorb, it does a lot to the health and the overall benefits of the person. So it has been found that a patient has automatically reduced the need for the pain to the tune of 22% in a green building compared to a usual building. There have been instances where a faster recovery has been found to the tune of 15%, and definitely reduction in the stay of the patients, because if patients are happy, then they have to be discharged as soon as possible. And definitely reduction in the employees turnover rate. Now, when we talk about the green schools, specifically if I talk about the green schools, as I mentioned, the child spends around 30 to 35% of his overall schooling hours in the school. So it is very important that when you are spending 1/3 of your time in a school, around 8 to 10 hours every day in a school, not talking about the present scenario where the things are very virtual, but usually it is very, very important that the school should be a green school, or at least some kind of an element is to be there, so that even the parents are happy, the children are happy, and overall the results are good. So in a green school, when it comes to the performance, it has been found that there are increase due to the room design, like effective room design has been to the tune of 25%. The faster progression in mathematics, a child can understand mathematics in a faster manner. 20% is that the statistics. Faster progression in reading, 26%. Like for example, when we sit in any dark lit room, and when we sit in a very nicely designed with nicely graphics room, so it does create a kind of a system wherein we automatically try to study, and it creates a amiable environment. So it has been found to also reduce the cases of asthma cases among the students to the tune of 65%, because it is definitely the parameter, as I mentioned, indoor environmental quality. It is such a parameter which is trying to control the exposure to the indoor environmental factors. All the pollutants which are there, it is naturally they are controlled, such as carbon monoxide, dust, pollens, etc. They do not come nearby to these kind of design features. Now, coming specifically to the certification systems in India, like this is a system, like we know, India has been designed in 5 climatic zones. So this system is holistically designed in such a manner that it is applicable to all the 5 climatic zones in India, and it is also aligned with national and local bylaws, and it is one of the pioneer rating systems in India. Now, when I talk about the certification system, for example, any project is there, like when I'm trying to design a particular building or particular project. So the project has to be registered in the particular in this website. There has to be a green consultant or a sustainability consultant who will help the builder or the designer in each and everything, right from the inception phase to the overall final stages. And they have to submit the documents for the preliminary review. They have the whole process. In the third step, the preliminary review is being done by the third-party assessors, who are being appointed by the appointed members, and they're the third-party assessors, and they just come and they just see that whether this particular thing is right or not. And this can range from people from senior officials to the senior people who have been there with these kind of technologies and have a lot of exposure and experience. And after this, when we submit the project for the review, there happens a final review by the third party assessors. The building audit is being taken by the IGBC people, and they notify the final score. Final score, I'll come to the other slides, as I mentioned, whether it's a gold rating or a platinum rating and what kind of rating. And once you are being given a grant of a rating, then you will get the official plaque, which indicates which rating you have got. Also, this is the kind of a certificate which is being given by IGBC in the right side. And this is a pre-certification. Like it's there are some of the projects which can be rated also, which can be also pre-certified, because I am trying to take approvals from the government. So now, why pre-certification? This is something very, very important. Now, recently, a lot of state governments have amended this thing as an important feature in their municipal approvals. Yeah, municipal rules. For example, in Bengal, we get around 10% of extra additional FAR if your building is a green building, either by IGBC or by any other rating which they have notified. And definitely, when a builder is trying to, without prior making a building, if they are wanting to take an extra FAR, then they will go for this kind of a pre-certification thing, wherein they will pay a certain amount of fees, and they will try to rate their buildings as a pre-certified building, and they can go with that particular design feature as per the amendments. Now, in what ways the IGBC buildings can be rated? So the buildings can be rated in four stages. Like either it is a certified building, it can be a silver building, it can be a gold building, or it can be a platinum rated building. And as per the thing, if it's a platinum rated building, it is by far excelling the national standards. And gold is a very good standard. It's an outstanding performance, and silver and certified. So the lowest is certified, and the certified is the basic, and the platinum is the highest level that one project can achieve. Now, why green buildings and green cities? Like if all the buildings in a particular city is green, so automatically the cities or the overall thing can be rated into a green city. So some of the examples which I would like to highlight in this IGBC thing. So this is a green homes example. So more than 12 lakh dwelling units, they have gone green. 900 developers from 175 cities and towns in India, they have been rated green buildings as per the IGBC standards. Now this is a net zero home in Bhubaneswar. So what are the extra features that they have added? This rainwater harvesting tank, the solar water heater, the rainwater hand pump, the charging point that they have, trying to, like, when we're talking mostly about energy and water, but there is other elements also which goes into the waste, the materials, the site. Overall, these all things decide how much what will be the rating figure. Now this is a prefab construction, which is a technology which is very much upcoming. It is been there recently, came technology in India, and it talks about how how it reduces a lot of waste, because when we talk about a concept of circular economy, like trying to let the waste go back into the system and the value chain. So construction industry and construction and demolition waste creates a lot of waste for the overall environment, and definitely for the overall environmental footprint. So this is a technology which does exist, and it can very quickly and very easily make a building into, and this was a technology which was being used by Karnataka State Police Housing Board, and they got IGBC Platinum rating. Now, definitely the rating was not just on the basis of using this technology, but the kind of benefits that they could have, that they got with the help of this particular technology or the overall rating. Now, when we talk about the existing buildings, so this technology, as I mentioned, is also applicable to the existing buildings. So Kolkata, as we know, it's a heritage city, and lot of buildings, Kolkata and Chennai have got majority of the old buildings. So a lot of scope exists in these kind of things, like IGBC Green existing buildings. So this is a existing building in Bombay House, which is a Tata headquarter in Mumbai. And the silent features are they have reduced lot of water savings of around to the tune of 50% from the normal water that we have using. The contribution to the maintenance of neighboring areas and green policy for all future retrofits. So we have buildings in India which we cannot demolish, which we should not demolish. The thing is that, and definitely there are a lot of rules and bylaws which goes into these kind of making, and in order to preserve the heritage also, we have to ensure that how we are utilizing or how we are retrofitting that building. So this Bombay House is this Tata headquarters in Mumbai is a heritage building, and it has been got this platinum rating by this IGBC green building. Now, when we talk about the energy performance index of this Bombay House, so over the years, with the help of this particular rating system and all the features that have been installed, it has been found to reduce to gain significant amount of energy savings and reduction in the EPI. Now, this is the India's first green Raj Bhavan. It is the Governor House in Meghalaya, which is IGBC Platinum rated green existing building. Now, Ministry of Urban Development, New Residential Township in New Delhi. It talks about the fact that how the same elements can be incorporated, and the very same project has also got the silver rating. Now, what they did specifically, along with the other things, is the bamboo fencing in all independent bungalows which they have used. This the lower image that you can see. Now, when we talk about the new residential township in Delhi, it does have a specific waste collection area, zero waste area, wherein they are trying to process the waste and make it into a compost, and trying to do a lot with the organic waste that is being generated, and everything is being all the organic waste is being treated and which is being reused on site. Now, some of the green rated commercial projects are which we can say is National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO, which is in Hyderabad, and that has been rated as the IGBC Platinum building. So the capacity of the solar farm which lies inside has almost 300 kilowatt of capacity, and 18% of the total energy is being utilized by this particular solar installation. Yagraj Sports Complex in New Delhi, it has been rated as the IGBC Gold. It is the first green stadium in India which has been rated as the Gold stadium. Our very own Avni Riverside Mall in Kolkata, it's a B 5-star rated building, and I remember still when it was like when I started my college, it was one of the building which was a talk of the town, like one of the very first buildings who have came into this limelight in Kolkata. Now, the Indira Paryavaran Bhavan, the Ministry of Environment Forests office in Delhi. This is a building which is entirely green building, and at present it has also been I believe it has also been gone for the net zero building. So what specifically design elements they have utilized, or they have see, it's just the designers and the architects and the engineers. They are trying to create a harmony in a building wherein everyone is sitting on the table. They're trying to understand it, what we can do differently than what we would have done for a specific or a usual building. So they are north-south orientation. They are limiting the window-to-wall ratio. The energy demand and the supply is being controlled. Like I remember when I visited this building, like one of the officials said that they have a system wherein their temperatures cannot go below 24 degrees Celsius, the air conditioned temperatures, and that is how that is the temperature that they have they are maintaining all throughout. This is the Civil Engineering Institute in Pune, Indian Railway Institute of Civil Engineers. So all the students who would be clearing engineering services examination would be trained in this prestigious institution, which is a green building rated institution. So what they have used differently, they have utilized a lot of salvaged materials. Like they have utilized the old, like we know that right now we are using the concrete sleepers, but there was a time when a lot of railway wooden sleepers we used to use in the railway technologies. So they have utilized or reused this old railway sleeper woods, the wooden beams and posts and flooring. They have utilized. They are trying to bring in a system like this lower figure left side. There's daylight in a regularly occupied spaces. They have utilized the mounted solar panels, roof mounted solar panels, and definitely it's one such building in India. Now, our very famous Howrah railway station, it is also being rated as a IGBC Silver Green railway station. Now, if you remember the like I think I was in college when this particular building I just passed out from the college, and I was noticing one day that when I was going somewhere, I found that they have suddenly changed the fans. They have utilized the longer fans. So this is a particular design element which has been there from the IGBC design system, wherein so what specifically they did, they have reduced the 50 kilowatt rooftop solar. They've installed this. There is a dedicated drop-off and multimodal integration system. A lot of SCADA systems is there for automatic data recording and how much energy is being utilized. And as I mentioned, HVLS fans they have installed over there. Talking about the IGBC green transportation, this is the first bus terminal in India which has gone green. This is the Vadodara Central Bus Station. It has got the rating of IGBC Gold, IGBC existing building rating, and at present the technology has been there for most of the major cities are going for the metros, and almost all the metro stations they are trying to get themselves rated with this green thing. So in IGBC there is a IGBC green rating system for the transport as well, MRTS system. So world's first green metro rating system, it has been developed by IGBC, and there are 300 plus metro stations across the country which are going green with IGBC at present. India's first green green airport, which is the Mumbai International Airport Terminal 2. It is also IGBC Platinum rated green building, and it was certified in the year 2014 under IGBC's new construction project. And again, it got recertified Platinum in 2016 under IGBC's existing building rating. Now, what is the certified and recertified? So whenever a building is getting certified, there's a particular year, maybe 2 years, 3 years, up till there, this particular certification is valid, because over the years, it has been found that one needs to maintain, or one needs to see that what are the changes in the building, and overall, you have to maintain it. So suppose I got a gold rating this year in my project, and I want to appeal the panel that I have done a lot of extra work on my building, and I want to go for a platinum rating. So definitely I can appeal, and I can get request them to recertify my building. And that's how this particular project, it got recertified in the year 2016 as an IGBC platinum rated project. Now it has got more than the platinum rating. It was one of the highest rated platinum projects, that is 94 points till that time under IGBC existing building rating system. Talking about the IGBC green cities. Now, this is the first IGBC green platinum rated green city in India. Now this is Dholega Industrial City Development in India, and it is still in the kind of like construction stage, but definitely, as we can see that the design phase is the perfect stage to employ or implement, to bring in a sustainability consultant or a green consultant into the project. And since this has been the consultants have been there with this project for a long time, so this has already been certified, pre-certified as IGBC Plus Platinum rated green city. Talking about our very own New Town Kolkata, which is the financial hub. Originally it was rated as a as a gold rated project, but right now it is a platinum rated project because they have gone for a recertification last year, and basis of which they have got this platinum certification. Now a lot of, as you know, like Newton, they have done a lot of changes and developments and amendments towards the overall waste, water, employment, overall well-being of the people in the new town. Now, Auric is India's first planned industrial city, and it has also been rated under the IGBC Green Cities certification scheme. Now, greenfield cities going green in India. When we talk about Gujarat, we have Gift City and Dholera. In Tamil Nadu, we have Mahindra Industrial Park. Bengal, we have Newtown. Andhra Pradesh, we have Amravati and Sri City, and Maharashtra, we have Shendra and Bitkin. So almost, as we can see in the right side, the kind of hectares that this particular rating system covers or this particular city covers is also mentioned. And definitely these are all aligned with the smart city development program as well, because as we know, Newtown is also it's a smart city. It's under the initial 100 smart cities which have been planned in India. Now, IGBC Green Cities rating for existing cities. Now, this is a rating system which is there for the existing cities which have already been there. So a lot of old cities, as we talk, like Jaipur is there, which is a heritage city as well. They are also trying to develop this kind of a rating system. So what I want to say is that this rating system not just applies to the newer cities like Newtown or any new city which is trying to come up, but also to the existing cities. So as we are trying to develop, so newer and newer elements can be added into this particular features. Now, Bhopal is the first smart city to adopt CI IGBC existing green cities rating. Talking about the green villages are the backbone of Indian economy, because our India is mostly an agrarian economy and a lot of things. And more important than the smart cities, it is something, smart villages is something which is the talk of which is the need of the hour. And IGBC Green Villages is trying to pave that way ahead. Now, this particular district in East Khasi Hills in Meghalaya, Moringong district, this is IGBC's first platinum green village. Now, I have not been to this village, but I do have friends and people who are staying nearby, and they all say that this is something which is one of a kind in India. Now, Bond in Haryana, it's IGBC Gold rated green village. It is the first village which is being certified under the CSR initiative. So as we talk right now, a lot of amendments which are there for the corporate social responsibility by the industries, and even the ones they are trying, if they are trying to do something, what kind of investments, like they're at present we are in an area wherein whatever impact that I'm trying to do, it should be measurable, it should be quantifiable, and I could see that what are the impacts that are being generated. So this particular green village, which has been rated under the IGBC green village under the CSR initiative. So talking about the India's net zero energy buildings, we have this, as I mentioned, Indira Paryavaran Bhavan in Delhi, which has been rated IGBC Platinum. The Gujarat Pollution Control Board, it has been rated IGBC Gold. The Sun Career Omega headquarters in Bhopal, it has been rated IGBC Platinum. The Eco Commercial Building, rated now at IGBC Platinum. So these are all the buildings which are net zero buildings. So when we talk about what kind of, coming specifically to materials, so what kind of materials and systems which goes into a green building? So talking specifically about the market potential that we have for the green products. it is to the tune of US dollars 300 billion. It's a big industry. And all the materials like fly ash blocks, wall and roof insulation materials, the high albedo roofing materials, low VOC paints, adhesives, sealants, CRI certified carpets, FSC certified wood, eco-friendly housekeeping chemicals, high performance glass. So, and equipment under the equipments and system, the waterless urinals, the high coefficient of performance chillers, carbon dioxide sensors, the wind towers, the root zone treatment systems, and third-party commissioning, energy simulations, and facilitation. These are all things which goes into this, which helps in the market transformation of the green materials. Coming to the green product. Now, what is a green product? Like, definitely, if I manufacture a product, if I want to say that it's a green product, so IGBC has a clause that if you are utilizing a certain specific utilization should be there from the green materials. So they have a specific rating for the green materials, that is Green Pro, and this Green Pro does have a eco labeling tie-up with Thailand as well. And they talk about how green is a product life based on its life cycle. Now, what is a life cycle approach? Now, life cycle approach is an approach which we try to bring in right from the planning to the end of the use of that particular product. For example, I'm manufacturing a T-shirt, so right from the planning, that from where will I source my cotton or the raw material till the time how I will get back the T-shirt from the particular person who has utilized it. So right now this term circular economy has been very much in talk. So we Indians, I would say, we are already like we somehow, like, our system, when we talk about, like, for example, a T-shirt, we usually do not discard a T-shirt. Our families, like, at least I have seen that the way they are, till the time they do not find that it's been torn, they keep on using it, maybe for cleaning purposes or the dusting purposes. That is called the downcycling, because whatever product I had, I am degrading the use of that product into something which is downcycling. Now, similarly, if I am out of a T-shirt, if I am making something, for instance, I'm upcycling into the T-shirt into something other product altogether, which actually increases the value of the original T-shirt product, then that is called upcycling. So these all concepts goes into the life cycle approach. Now, how green is a product is also being identified with this particular life cycle approach, and there are certain overall stages, like, wherein on the basis of which we can understand that how green is my product. Now, when we talk about the product stewardship, that how green and how the product can be utilized, then what is the innovation, what kind of innovative elements I'm trying to bring in the product. Like right now, when we specifically talk about the fashion industry, they are trying to bring in a system wherein they will they'll bring back the old materials which are there. In European countries, we find that the glass bottles that we do not use, the plastic bottles, like when we go to the mall, you can just return those things and you can get a payback for that particular thing, which you can utilize for buying something different. So these kind of models are very, very helpful, or rather they entice the overall people a lot to adhere to these kind of lifestyle changes, which is very important. Because out of the blue, if someone tells me that you have to change your way towards the life cycle approach, so what, definitely anyone will try to understand that how and where to start it. Now, what does this green product certification do? It highlights the way forward to achieve environmental excellence of that particular product. And definitely it is trying to bring in an element wherein all the international standards and protocols are followed for product testing and evaluation. Now, at present,
Priyank,
yes, sir.
Can you tell them, I mean, what is actually related to this, I mean, green product? What is green concrete?
So, yes, sir, green concrete.
Yeah, please, I mean, tell them.
So, green concrete is something wherein they are trying to bring in an element of, so see,
recycled material. I mean,
Yes,
the
sir.
road
Correct.
material, they are using recycled material and making the good your green concrete. No, please
Correct.
explain that.
Correct, sir. So, a lot of the old, like when you talk about the fly ash bricks or the recycled materials that they are using, like I specifically am in touch with a lot of companies who are utilizing your waste and making your bricks. So these kind of technologies, when you try to bring into this construction industry, it paves the way for a construction and demolition circular industry standards.
Yeah.
So more specifically, there have been a lot of demands for these kind of technologies because, as I already mentioned, that construction and demolition industry is one of the major emitters of carbon dioxide emissions, and how overall we can reduce these consumption and how overall this can be reduced. There have been trials and tests, a lot of trials and tests, and everything is being done for these kind of products, and they are very much appreciated by the government as well as the private players in the market.
Carry on.
So at present, there are 320 plus products which are certified. There are 42 companies which are already registered. As you can see in the left side, the Green Pro certified. Certified. Majority of the big companies they have adhered to, including the cement companies, the Dalmia Cement or but the British Paints, the Berger Paints, the Nippon Paint, the Godrej Interior, the JSW Cement, the Hindcon Chemicals, the JSW Cement. So many companies they have gone with this product certification because they want to ensure, they want to uh, take the industry to a certain standard wherein which can bring in a lot of benefits to them, both tangible and intangible benefits. And by adhering to these standards, so why these standards? It's not that if I only do the go for these green post certified products or green IGBC certification or any certification, then my building is a green. But it actually gives you a sense of a satisfaction that yes, you are adhering to these kind of systems, and a feel good factor is always there with the help of the return and the sustained savings that you are getting. As I mentioned, the global equilibrium network is a member. They have a tie-up with this Green Pro. So Green Pro certification, it actually has a very good rating and a coverage. Now, coming to the very important costing factor, like when we were young, like when I was young in the year 2003. So the materials, carbon dioxide sensors, one unit, the cost was 50,000. At present in 2013, or at present it is being further reduced from 2000 to 20,000 per unit. The certified wood, it costed 2,500 per cubic feet. Now it is even lesser than 1,600 per cubic feet. The high performance glass, it costed 500 rupees per square feet in the year 2003. So in the year 2013 or at present, it costs even less than 350 rupees per square feet. The high albedo materials, it used to cost 90 rupees per square feet in the year 2003. At present, it costs even lesser than 60 rupees per square feet. The solar photovoltaics, like we know that the whole transition into the solar industry has been tremendous in last 10 to 15 years. In fact, we have also this alliance of International Solar Alliance with most of the countries, United Nations adhering countries, majority of them. And India is the headquarters for International Solar Alliance, and we have got very high targets and ambitions for this particular project. So because of these kind of schemes and systems, in 2003, the average cost was 2.5 to 3 lakhs per kilowatt, which has been reduced so much, 0.5 to 1 lakh rupees per kilowatt. The waterless urinals, it costed around 15,000 per unit in the year 2003. At present, it's even less. So even for example, when as sir was mentioning that when I was studying in my second and third year, this particular technology was not there. In fact, I remember asking sir that I want to do this project, but since that thing was not there, so it was not being there. But somehow this innovation or the change is the need of the hour, and that's how progress of a particular country or an organization is being measured, with how much innovation, research, and developments. So based on all the innovations that have been there, and based on the innovations, we are trying to attract more and more industries and developments. And based upon the industries and manufacturing, we are trying to we are in a better position to reduce the cost of all the materials that does exist today. than what they existed 20 years back. So this is a major advantage. And if the material cost is decreased, so overall the green building cost also gets reduced. So for example, a building which costed X amount in the 2000, it it costs 30 to 40% less at present times. Now, when we talk about this cost of green buildings as per the Indian experiences, now this cost shows a decreasing trend over the years. Like it is related to this slide, but it tries to highlight that how the cost has been reduced, and in how many years the payback period is also getting reduced. So talking about the very first building, the CII's IGBC headquarters in Hyderabad, the built-up area is 20,000 square feet. It has also achieved platinum rated, and the percentage increase in cost is 18%, and the payback period is 7 years. That was the first traded building in 2003. Now coming to the Suzlon One Earth in Pune, the built up area is 8 lakh square feet, and the rating it has achieved is the same, platinum rating, and percentage increase in cost is 2%, and payback years is only 2 years. So within 2 years, whatever the cost it is applying to ensure that it is a green certified building or it is a green building, the owner or a builder is recovering that particular cost. Now, talking about this green buildings to green sensors. Now, this is very much aligned to the health and well-being rating systems, and how we sense, how we smell, how we taste, how we sight, see, how we touch, and how we hear. These are all the elements which somehow affect the physical, emotional, intellectual, and the social needs and the parameters of a particular person, which overall again goes to the health and well-being of an individual, and enhance in this particular feature helps in enhancing the quality of the life. That's the ultimate goal. So use and release of ozone depleting chemicals. Till 90s, there have been rampant use of ozone depleting chemicals. Like there have refrigeration, air conditioning, foam blowing, solvents, firefighting. A lot of these systems were utilizing a lot of systems which were releasing a lot of ozone depleting chemicals. Now at present, this particular thing has been mandated by the Montreal Protocol of 1992, and overall the world, it has been reduced by 85% as per the statistics. Now, electrical vehicles, this is something which is very, very need of the hour. Like when we are in the age of Tesla, and when we are talking about majority of the booming which is going to come in this electronic vehicles. So till 2005, the major dependence was on fossil-based fuels, whereas in today, everyone is trying to make a shift. For example, in Germany, they have mandated that they will stop using all the fossil fuels. So all the fields that the fossil-based fuels they have reduced, and they are trying to make it a completely eco-friendly and electrical vehicles.
But if we really, like to break through this, we have to go for modernizing the charging point. That is charging station.
That is very
charging
important.
Station. Yeah, it is not there, so that's why people are not buying this vehicle.
Absolutely, sir. Like for example, if I buy an electronic vehicle and I don't know that where would I go and charge my point, so that is something which is very
lacking.
That is lacking. So that is why in the green building features, all the building systems, they are specifically they have been mandated that you have to have a particular kind of a electronic vehicle charging system plug point in your building.
Yeah.
In all the big buildings.
Yes.
So this is a major shift in the renewable energy. So this I already mentioned that how this we are trying to expect a 500% increase, and India is one of the it is going to be the major hub, and people are looking forward to India with this particular renewable energy boost, because definitely we have got a lot of sunshine hours, and this is something which we are at an advantage with this. Now, talking about this food habits and change in the lifestyle, this is something which this might be contradictory,
Yeah.
person to person, but
it helps.
the left side of the figure looks so enticing. But at the same time, I know that the right side of the figure, like we know that organic food and the food that we that has been produced organically, it has got a lot of benefits and um, in your body and your system.
Yeah, there should be. I mean, we have to mix and match. We have to skip. I mean, certain days. I mean, the non-veg items, and we have to go for the veg. Then only we can mix and match.
Yes, sir. Being a vegetarian, I cannot say that you should.
It is a required. I mean, nowadays, I mean, lot of people are following this.
Correct.
They are
Absolutely
skipping
true.
1 or 2 days. I mean, non-veg items.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. In fact, there have been a lot of trends because
Yeah.
which says that trying to follow these all come under the sustainable living principles.
Yes, exactly.
And if we are trying to adhere to these kind of lifestyles where you are so see as I mentioned in the starting of my discussion, everything is already there in our history, in our roots, in our system.
Yeah.
So right now we are at a threshold wherein we are trying to adhere to our roots, go back to our roots, because in the Sanskrit, in the Vedas, it has been mentioned to how even if you reduce the amount of food you are trying to consume, maybe a kind of a different kind of a fasting, so which the Westerners have given a name of intermittent fasting. So whereas it has been there in our shastras, these things, which can give a lot of benefits to your work, overall body. Now, coming to this, as I mentioned, green building is the one wherein you can live, you can learn, you can work, you can shop, you can travel, you can play. So it's not, the name is the Indian Green Building Council, but it is not just related to a green building as in a particular building. It can be applied to each and every space, each and every area. And we know that the best way to predict a future is to design it. Now, coming to this slide, like uh, you can see in the middle, there is a concept of sustainability, and surrounding this is the people, the planet, and the profit. So, what does it highlight? So, it actually highlights that being sustainable, be it in the real estate industry or be it in the living industry, anywhere, that is the need of the hour, so as to create a sort of a harmony between people, the planet, and the profit. It is very imperative and very necessary, because the world is in a juggling manner. Everything is being juggled in a very important manner. And yeah, I would like to end my this discussion with this very famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. He's one of my ideals, that be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you all.
So please, I mean, share your experience and your college days and how you have come to this position. I mean, what is your breakthrough in your career? And please guide our students.
So
Actually, they should understand that civil engineering nowadays is not only the core engineering. There are many diversified fields. So they should actually churn out those things.
correct, sir. Right.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned that I'll tell about my present work. So at present I work as a director of business development and operations and research for a company named Levolt India. So it's basically an American company which is headquartered in New York, Israel, and recently been started in India. So we are trying to bring in a system. It is purely into energy audits. Like we know New York has a lot of old buildings. So they are trying, and they are being mandated by the law, the local laws, which says that all the buildings have to go through a particular system wherein you have got sufficient systems or savings in your building. So we are trying to help them with this particular standards. Similar to that, we are trying to bring in this thing very early in India, wherein we can reduce a lot of damages which are done to the existing building, a lot of savings which do not go. So we try to talk with the builders, the developers, the government bodies. At present, we are also working with the projects related to green company rating. Now, how a company, overall company, can be rated into a green company, that is very important, on the basis of all the factors that we discussed, like the life cycle approaches, the energy, the water, the environment, the material savings, the supply chain sustainability management. So when I talk specifically about the core engineering and this engineering, so a lot of people they think that being an engineer, I only have to maybe design buildings, or maybe I have to stand in the site and so I always remember this thing that one of the professor Minal sir used to say that you can work in 16 different areas being an engineer, and not just in one area. So and that used to bring make me
He's
more.
also listening in.
Oh, great, sir. And I used to get more curious that what are the different areas, like I am only learning steel structure, I'm only learning concrete structure, so where all I can apply. So my advice or my advice to these young students is just that this is we are in a major churning zone, and two-thirds of the jobs that the younger generation will do, they do not even exist. So there is always a scope for innovation, the research and development, and all the existing parameters which do exist today might not be there tomorrow.
Yeah. So
So
come out of the box.
Yeah, one has to think what is outside the box. It's very important, sir. Very, very important.
So please, you please, tell us about your this circulating economy, circular economy rather.
Okay, sir. So I can maybe I
Yeah,
can-
yeah. There's present also. You can
Okay.
share your presentation also.
Okay, so I'll just share the slide. So just give me 1 minute. I'm
Yeah,
trying.
sure.
There is a network lag over here, I think.
Sure. Okay.
And the presentation which I just shared, sir, I'll also try to share it with you and the department so that maybe they can keep it in
Yeah, sure.
for later use. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
So I'll just brief about this particular topic, circular economy, and this was one of the research which we did with one of the organization in India. So what is circular economy basically? So we know that a lot of resource security is being there already. The population is expected to increase by 1.4 times in 45 years, from 6.4 billion, 5 billion in 2005 to 9.1 billion in 2050. We are already bearing the brunt of population explosion. So the issue is not just consumption of resources, but while trying to consume those resources, we are also degrading the resources, which is due to the proper and the improper management of residues. More than 3/4 live in countries whose national resource consumption has exceeded the nation's resource availability. These are all terms which are so easy to read even for me, but these are something very, very deep and deep meaning. Can we believe, sir, that more than 3/4 people live in the countries whose national resource consumption has exceeded the nation's resource availability? To compound, we now have compound, we now have a looming threat of climate change. It is very, very imperative. Like there is this threat is something which is there for sure, the climate change, and the global resource security is therefore at a risk than never before. It is at the highest zone of the risk. Now, how industries and organizations they have evolved in the years, this is something very, very important. Coming to this slide, this is the basic definition of a circular economy and linear economy. in a usual linear economy, what happens? We just try to take, make, and waste, take, make, and waste approach. Whereas in a circular economy, we are trying to become more responsible than a throwaway society. So in a linear economy, the resources which we produce, then again consume, it goes to the waste, and the waste goes to the landfills. But in a circular economy, we are trying to just bring in the system zero to the landfills. Now, zero to the landfills is very, very important, because if we are minimizing or zeroing down to the landfills, then automatically will have a system wherein we have to use the same back to the system and the society. Now, recently, I think this was in the news. The electronic waste is a major is a major waste which is there. Coming 10 years down the line, solar panel waste is going to be a major waste. So a lot of researches are already being done in these particular areas. And when we talk about this circular economy, it talks more about usage of local and renewable sources, dematerialization, increase in the product use, overall inclusive growth, the recovery of the resources, trying to extend the life cycle of the products, which is very, very important. And overall, it's a kind of an economy which talks more about a shared economy, or more like a shared system. For example, at present, this Uber and the Ola, these are all an example of this shared economy or the collaborative consumption. Because if one person, the shared system in the Uber and the Ola, because of COVID, it doesn't exist at the moment, but they do have this system of
they
sharing.
don't have any fleet on their own, so they are sharing. They are hiring from the other owners.
Correct. And also they have this carpooling system.
Yeah.
Where I can share the car. So
Yeah.
in a way, that is trying to be a more responsible society. So they are trying to reduce the waste.
That way also you can reduce the carbon emission.
Correct, sir. Correct. Now, when we talk about defining the circular economy, it is a regenerative economic system which purely focuses on transitioning from take, make, and dispose models to take, make, use, and regenerate resource models. Now, this is very, very important, that take, make, and dispose, and take, make, use, and regenerate. Because if we have to regenerate something, we have to ideate something, we have to innovate something. And coming back to the same discussion, that we have to think outside the box. So already countries like developed countries like Germany, they have taken a very substantial efforts and steps to be the leaders in this kind of technologies, which is definitely coming to India also, and it has already been there in India from some time. It aims to redesign the production and consumption systems. Now, definitely, I'll just bring one element which is very, like, at present, when we see that after the launch of this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the people became more conscious about the waste. Usually, like, we used to throw the waste here and there, like we can see a lot of waste which was there. But by bringing the system or institutionalizing the system, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, it has made a lot of changes in a way, at least from the perception point of view. It is a new model for sustainable development and green economies, and it aims to redesign the production and the consumption systems, which does exist. Now, I'll try to talk about this inner and the outer circle, which talks about the circular economy's point. The inner circle, which is the red highlighted zone, it talks about the avoid, reduce, and redesign. The inside circle, it talks about the repair, refurbish, and reuse the element. The exterior circle, it talks about the recycle, recover, and remanufacture stage. So the outer circle is creating more of a closed loop of materials, more for big businesses. The inner circle is people-centric. It is for citizens, small companies, and community initiatives to reinvent. However, the bullseye is the first priority. Like, bullseye is this one. The first priority in designing for circular economy is to avoid, is to reduce, is to redesign. Suppose I am trying to make a green building, and whatever the waste is coming. So firstly, I'll try to ensure that how can I avoid this particular waste. if I have to demolish an old building, so how can I avoid demolishing that building? If not, how can I reduce the demolishing? If not reduction, how can I redesign? Like what elements I can incorporate so that I'm at the upper edge. Now, sustainable development goals, it is the 17 sustainable development goals. All this circular economy and sustainability, everything is aligned with the sustainable development goals. And the reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, remanufacture, and refurbish. The 6 R's of this principle, which is aligned with the sustainable development goals. And it, like each and every sector, like the employment sector, the entrepreneurs, the innovation, the investments, everyone has a specific role to play to do a bit for the circular economy. You talk about the skilling sector, because right now the grassroots people, they are some of the people from the grassroots. A lot of grassroots innovations are there, which do talk about the circular economy, like which have been there with us, like the usual the bhog, the shalpata that we eat. That is, I was seeing somewhere that it has been recently launched by a country specific in the West, and they are trying to say that they have developed it. Whereas our Indian, we have been using it since generations. So already this is there in the roots. We just have to think about it, that where does it exist? How does it exist? Now, how circular economy is being aligned with this SDGs? When we specifically talk about material recycling, the Sustainable Development Goal 3, it talks about that by 2030, substantially reduce the number of deaths and illnesses from hazardous chemicals in air, water, and soil pollution and contamination. Industrial symbiosis, the remanufacturing and repair and reuse. These are all talking a lot about circular economy, which is a bit higher comparatively, but definitely they do exist.
Okay.
So this is the question for the thought, which I want to highlight.
Any question, Kamrul?
Yes, sir. One question from the audience.
Yes.
Yeah, question from the student. I don't find anyone. Any?
Sutapa Bhattacharya asked, sir, I want to know if I want
that
to
is related to GIS, not related to this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. GIS.
So I have already advised Polas. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because why she has not asked during that session. So I have asked Polas to take a suitable discuss with Aditi ma'am and then answer. Okay.
So it is about this presentation.
No, it is about GIS.
Okay, sir.
I have seen this. So Anupam has actually sent me this question. I have told him to consult, to take up with Polas and Aditi ma'am. Okay. And then it will be replied to her. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You can reply. It will be answered later on because it is not related with this green building and all these things. Okay. That is related to GIS.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Any other question?
No, sir.
Nothing is there, no? Students? Yes. Have you checked? No questions, no?
No, sir.
Okay, then let us close the session.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll be in contact.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we have come to the end of this webinar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the audience, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamrul. Thank you, sir. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, students, for your patient hearing. And I think, from both the session. You have enriched with your knowledge. So if you have any question afterward, you can share with me. Then I can share with the our guest speaker, and then it will be answered if required. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.